The House Science, Space and Technology Committee, meanwhile, holding a hearing on the, quote, foundations for effective risk management of artificial intelligence yesterday. Scale AI Managing Director and former Chief Technology Officer of the U.S., Michael Kratsios, testified in front of the committee on what America's AI strategy and oversight should look like. Watch.
I truly believe that the United States can and must maintain and expand our global leadership in artificial intelligence. American leadership in AI is crucial for maintaining the economic and national security of the United States.
Michael Kratsios joins us right now. Michael, good to see you. Thanks very much. Your company, Scale AI, delivers training data for AI applications. Tell us where you believe the U.S. is right now on this race to dominate AI.
Great to see you. Good morning. I currently believe that the U.S. is still leading the world in cutting-edge artificial intelligence. The question is, can we maintain this leadership? And what steps must we take as a government and as a country to ensure that we maintain this leadership position? And that was a lot about what we talked about at the hearing yesterday. It's how can we put in the right regulatory regime in place to ensure that we can continue to innovate in this country while also developing safe, secure, and trustworthy AI.
I mean, the Biden administration has been coming up with some rules in terms of buying and importing technology from China. And I know he's putting limits in there in terms of what we can export to China, but it's very narrow, and it doesn't take effect for a year. And I don't know that it even addresses AI. What's your take on current policy with regard to winning this race?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Domestically, what we want to ensure that we do is continue to fuel our innovation ecosystem, and that's by supporting robust research and development, that's by supporting our workforce, and that's by developing regulations which can very smartly allow for innovation to happen. And I think one thing that we saw at the hearing yesterday, there's actually bipartisan agreement that the best path forward for regulation in the U.S. is a sector-specific, use-based, risk-based approach to regulation. And I think there's some people on the Hill that have testified before, and there's some pockets within Congress that believe we need a new sort of gargantuan AI agency that will try to regulate this for every type of use case. It was very comforting yesterday to see that that was not really what the committee was going towards. Now, in regards to China, I think we have to think very carefully around how we can ensure that our best technology isn't ultimately stolen or ultimately taken and used for nefarious purposes by the CCP. I was somewhat comforted to see that earlier this week the Biden administration expanded the export controls on certain cutting-edge chips. But the key thing is we've got to stay vigilant on this. The last time we did a set of export controls, a few days later, our major chip manufacturers developed a chip that just sat under the threshold, and ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, went out and bought billions of dollars worth of them.
Yeah.
So we've got to be really careful.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the UK hosting the world's first global AI safety summit next month. Vice President Kamala Harris is expected to represent the U.S. at that summit. China also is going to attend. Meanwhile, the Five Eyes countries' intelligence chiefs are accusing China of using AI for hacking and spying on other countries. The Five Eyes intelligence network involves the U.S., Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. What are your thoughts on China hacking in and using AI against the U.S. and others?
Yeah, I mean, no one should be surprised that the CCP is doing this, and they will continue to do this. I think what is surprising is that we, as a Western set of democracies, believe that representatives from the CCP have a place at the table when it comes to some of these AI safety issues. When I was in the White House earlier in the Trump administration, in 2019, there was an effort by the G20 to try to bring together the G20 nations on a set of AI principles. China sat at the table across from us. They agreed to those principles. And now, years later, they're promulgating AI regulations, which are everything and more when it comes to authoritarianism. So it's very challenging to believe, or it's hard to believe how you can see them as a credible negotiating partner on some of these major global AI issues.
Yeah, Kayleigh.
Michael, you touched on this issue a little bit earlier when you mentioned the fact that AI technology is heavily dependent on semiconductor chips. And this is sort of the looming factor here, is that our supply chain for this technology is almost completely dependent on other countries like Taiwan, which is facing its own threat from China at this point. So how does that economic dependence factor into our regulation and development of this technology?
Yeah, the key thing we have to do is continue to build domestic capacity for leading edge chips. And we've made some effort with that with the Bipartisan CHIPS Act. But the reality is, once you break ground, it's at least 5 years until you start having anything come out of the fab. So it's critical that we sort of remain vigilant on this. And we kind of find ways throughout the world to be able to source some of these chips. I think the key thing that we need to do is continue to kind of push the pedal to the metal when it comes to a lot of these export controls. In the world of cutting-edge AI, the big challenge we're seeing for anyone who wants to compete with the U.S. is they have to access these high-end GPUs in order to train their models. And if we can continue to restrict access to CCP actors, it will serve certainly in the interest of the United States.
Well, I mean, I think one issue is the fact that, for so long, China was just stealing our innovation, right? I mean, the intellectual property theft has been going on for decades, but now I think they're at a point where they can actually build their own.
They can, and I think what's actually a little bit scary about this new sort of generative AI revolution is the models themselves, these high-end models at companies like OpenAI or Anthropic or others, those are just essentially just a piece of data that's sitting on a server. And if you're able to hack into that, you can essentially steal that quite easily if you have access. And I think the CEO of Anthropic was on the Hill testifying a few months ago and essentially noted that. So there's a lot of R&D that still needs to be done in order to better protect these cutting-edge models, because companies are spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to train them, and the Chinese are, I'm sure, targeting them to try to steal them.
Tiana?
So right now it's estimated that China's IP theft from the U.S. is about 3% of their economy. And obviously, President Trump really tried to crack down on this. And it matters when China's whole goal to overshoot the American economy is all contingent, right, on the next 15 years. Is there any bipartisan movement? What's the best thing that Biden has done to focus on this IP theft? And again, is it one of those situations where they have enough from us and AI will really fill in the gaps for them to help close their GDP gap to ours?
Yeah, I think we have to remain vigilant and on the side of law enforcement to be able to continue to track and monitor these and prosecute those who are seen as stealing our IP. But I think the best way to combat this is continue to be the innovation leader and make sure that we're developing these technologies at home and work with sort of government agencies and law enforcement to try to put up the strongest guardrails we possibly could.
Michael, it's good to talk with you today. Thanks so much.